Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. So in this video, as you might already seen in the thumbnail or the title of the video, this video is all about how to prepare for your data science or data analytics interview and what are the steps that you need to make sure that you have already practiced. The first and foremost is obviously resumes, guys. That is the first single thing that a recruiter or your hiring manager is going to read, and whatever you write in it is going to be questioned upon or at least been tested upon. For example, if there are any skills mentioned in your resume, make sure you practice that, because some of us will add certain keywords, right, to bypass the system, get into the hands of the hiring manager. So make sure you have already practiced those skills. And the second thing is, if you mention a tool, for example, if you mention you have developed a tool dashboard in Tableau, so you need to know Tableau based on how you have worked in your career. For example, if you have used in a beginner level, you need to know at least the beginner level knowledge of Tableau. Or if you have used this extensively in advanced version, you also might need to be prepared or be prepared for answering questions that can be experienced level interview questions for Tableau. So the first and foremost thing is always be prepared with your resume, guys, because if you show to your hiring manager or whoever is interviewing for the first round that based on whatever is written and you are not showcasing that, obviously that's definitely going to be a red flag for them to avoid you or reject you in the first place. The second point is also related to the resume, is that you need to be prepared with one project end to end. For example, you might have recently worked on certain project in your company currently and you wanted to showcase that to your manager or your hiring manager, because that is one project that highlights your abilities or skill set in data analytics or data science. Then you must make sure that you know end to end of it. Like, for example, what is the context of the project, what is your objective, why are we using a machine learning model in first place, or why are we even using this data analytic techniques. All those sort of questions you need to be prepared with, because they will definitely ask those questions on to understand how you thought through this whole problem or use case. So always make sure to prepare one project end to end so that you are ready with points when they ask you questions. I would like to talk about a scenario that recently came across when I was chatting with one of my friend. Is that one of our friends were going through a particular interview process, and when he or she was asked a question on their resume, he or she was not able to answer, and it is kind of a red flag for the hiring managers or recruiter, because when you write something, definitely they expect you to be aware of it, or at least they expect you to be ready with preparation. So that's the first thing. And for example, I also would like to say, for example, if you wrote a point where you built a time series forecasting algorithm to forecast sales or something like that, make sure you know what is time series forecasting, what are the different models with respect to time series forecasting. Like, we have ARIMA, SARIMA, we have exponential smoothing model. So all of that you need to be aware of, and also what concepts are relevant to time series. Like, is the data stationary, non-stationary, did you see a trend? All that things need to be prepared. So this is one example, guys. I want to make sure it's gone through across everybody in this channel. Always make sure that you have one project prepared end to end. The third and very important point I also again remind myself is that in a data analytics interview or in a data science interview, we come across coding questions. Now, coding need not be in high level coding, like a software engineer who needs to write a high level coding. But however, we also get interview questions or coding interview questions relevant to SQL and Python. So always when you prepare for your interview with respect to coding questions, always make sure you type the code. Gone are the days where you are asked to write the code. It's always now typing the code. They might, for instance, big companies like Amazon, Google, they give you link where they can see from their end, and when you type the code, they can see from their end live. Like, they can literally see what you're typing. So always prepare by typing the code by yourself and not write the code, because in the interview scenario you are definitely going to type. So when you already have a practice of typing the code with no reference on what is the syntax or any examples, then if you prepare that way, that will help you to get ahead on in an interview coding questions. So that is a very important preparation tip that everyone needs to follow or be aware of. The fourth tip is mock interview, guys. For example, if you are getting interviewed for next week, make sure you get an you have a friend or someone to mock interview yourself. Have a mock interview to make sure that you are prepared in terms of resume or important concepts that are asked. For mock interview, it would be good if you have a friend or anybody with you to ask you questions, frame a use case kind of questions, or ask you questions on resume or any coding questions. So this way you are also you have already faced a situation where you are getting interviewed. And second thing is, there are platforms that give you mock interview sessions. For example, the one that I'm showing here gives mock interview section where it is free of cost. You just have to schedule a time and date, and you will have a partner assigned immediately. And this is a one it is a to and fro, guys. You need to interview them, at the same time they'll interview you. So this is a very good platform where I have also used this platform. It have helped me a lot in terms of getting away the interview fears. So definitely make sure that you get mock interview, or you prepare for a mock interview, so that you don't have that fear of facing the interview for the first time. The fifth and important tip, or the a reminder for every one of us, is to prepare for behavioral. Lot of us talk about preparing for technical interviews, preparing for coding interviews, preparing for case interviews or case study interviews, but none. There are only little emphasis on behavioral interviews. But to be honest, behavioral interviews are the tricky one, because you can at least prepare for your technical interviews, but for behavioral interviews you need to be you're not sure, right, what these people are going to ask questions. Sometimes they talk about the team management, they talk about how you handle stakeholders, and for particular companies like Amazon, they talk about the leadership principles, and Google, again, they talk about their principles that they showcase in their company page. So all these are the behavioral questions. I'm sure people who have already been in getting interviewed are aware of this point, but I don't see much emphasis on this, so I thought, why not put this as one of the point. So please do make sure you prepare for your behavioral questions, because sometimes, because due to these behavioral questions, people do get rejected. So it is important for you guys to have be prepared with behavioral questions. Like, tell me about yourself. You may feel that it's very simple, you can just talk in something, but it's not that. You need to be prepared to show like that you better team player, or you know how to manage your stakeholders. So that those are the things that you need to be prepared, guys. So never ever underrate behavioral questions. Another point that I want to mention, this is based on my experience, personal experience, guys. Always when you getting interviewed, make sure that you are in check with your recruiters, or the person that you talk to, or whoever reached out to you for the next level of interview. Make sure that the position that you're seeking, or the next level of interview, is what you are expected of. For example, I recently was interviewed in a big company. I don't want to mention the name of the company here. However, I noticed one thing is that I did crack the first level of interview, which was a case study, and the second level was the on-site interview. Only when I reached the on-site interview and I was talking to a guy from US, I realized that they are looking for someone else, not based on my skill set. So it was basically a loss for both of us, because I am definitely putting my effort and expectations on this job, while the other person is also trying to find a resource, right? So you have to always be in touch with your recruiters, or the person whom you are in contact with during the interview process. Make sure that the skills that they are looking is relevant to what you are willing to be in the company. So this is very important point, guys, because after this personal experience, I felt very rejected, because after attending the case interviews, which was hectic, I thought I could crack the interview, but it did not, because it was not the job that I was looking for, or the responsibilities I was looking for. At the same time, the other person was not looking for someone like me. Yeah, so that's a very important point that you need to know. Remember with that, always check with your recruiters. And the most and final point is practice, guys. There is no substitute for practicing. If you don't practice, it is definitely going to show in your interview. The more you practice, the more perfect you're going to be in the interview, or at least you become calm that you are prepared. So the last point is always practice, practice, practice. There is no substitute, obviously. So if you practice, it's for your own good. If not, it definitely going to show, you will definitely have the fear of facing that interview, or you don't feel confident basically on when you attend the interview. So those are the red flags that the hiring managers will definitely note. That's the final point, guys. So these are all the points that I wanted to send across to everybody who's preparing for interviews as the market is coming up. I hope these points are useful for all of you guys, and if you feel this was useful, please do like, share and subscribe. Catch you all for the next video. Bye.